Yes. What's good, everybody? Currently in the UFC gym in Astoria, Queens, with the good brother Sergio de Silva. Again, you guys heard him a couple of months ago on the episode. Really successful episode, man. People liked your story.
What's up, guys? How are you? Pleasure to be back, Nick. Thanks for having me. I'm glad the episode did well, man. Let's blow this one out the water.
You know, anytime I hit up Sergio, I'm like, yo, I got to get you on the podcast, man. And especially now with 244 being on Saturday, we're going to run through the card, what stands out, what we're looking forward to. I mean, shit, this is a big card for you.
I'm starting off, because I know a lot of the listeners, who might look me up, follow me. I'm 1,000% biased on this card. I'm not gonna hide it. I have brothers fighting on this card and a sister. Kaylin Chukagian, blonde fighter, who's the #1 female in her weight division. I think she's going to do really well, right? We can start with her.
Yeah.
I think she's going to go right through this girl. I see a TKO finish.
Okay.
Probably a knockout. Kaylin's striking is very sharp, very precise. I think she's going to do really well. That's the first fight that stands out to me.
Well, right off the bat, you got all three. I know you got Julio Arce, you got Lyman
Julio,
Good.
what's up, baby?
Also, those are the fights that are kicking off the card, the prelims.
Yeah, I think like you said, I think if I'm not mistaken, Julio is the first one, right? I mean, there's
he's going up against Dawadu.
All right. No problem, Julio. Start the show off. You know what to do, my man. I love that fight for Julio. I think it's gonna be. Look, the fans are gonna get a lot. Like I say, right? Fight like this, it's both guys are very explosive, young, hungry.
Mm-hmm.
They're both trying to make a run, to the top of the division. I like that Julio, since being in the UFC, he's been fighting at 145 pounds. Doesn't cut a lot of weight, so I know for a fact all the Tiger guys, Tiger Showman does a phenomenal job with the cardio. I think they're going to be really, really well prepared. And it's one of those fights that both guys are going to come forward. I know, what's his name? How do you pronounce that kid?
Dawadu.
Dawadu, right? No offense, man, but I think him coming forward is going to give Julio a better chance to finish the fight. I think Julio wins by knockout early. I think the fans are going to get a lot from that fight.
Yeah, that's a fight. That fight could easily be on like the actual prelim card, But I think this is a pretty stacked card too, man. They really showed out. Like you look at some of the names on the.
No, the prelim. It's a stacked card when the prelims. The worst fight on the prelim involves Orlovsky.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I'd agree.
Right.
With
I mean,
you
not
on that.
worst. All the fights are great, but we can start like I said. We just spoke about Julio, and Dawadu. To kick off the prelims, that's insane. That fight could have easily been a main card fight on any other show. That's a main card fight, trust me. Then second fight coming up is my good friend Lyman Good. Love to see Lyman fight. Lyman's a beast. I think he always brings it.
Yo, I heard somewhere that he got his black belt in jiu-jitsu like really quickly. Was that true?
I don't know. I don't know if because they have their own system. The guys from Tiger Showman.
Okay, copy.
They have their own black belt system. They do a really nice job preparing their guy, but there's not traditional jiu-jitsu with a gi and all that. They use the gi pants. So it's a little different. I don't know how long he got it, but Lyman is a stud. Lyman is a stud, man.
What outside of the fights that involve someone that you are really close with, also Shane.
How can we forget Shane? Hold on. We can't just skip. I was actually just texting with Shane. He posted a video on his Instagram about this taco spot. Los Tacos. Have you ever been there? The Chelsea Market. That's my favorite taco. He was there with his brother. His little brother was torturing him.
So yo, is he allowed to like eat that kind of stuff this week? No, right?
I mean, look.
Just in general, like a fighter on fight week, like.
Honestly, believe it or not, guacamole is really good for you, man. The chips is what kills you, but like guac, avocado, that's good fat. So that's not bad for you if you eat just the steak. I mean, probably has more salt than you want and seasoning, all that. But he was there, so I sent him a message. We were texting back and forth. He's very close to weigh. He's on pace. I know they weigh in tomorrow, I think 9 a.m. He was giving me the countdown to the minutes. He's like, Serge, I got 22 hours and 50 minutes, whatever.
Everything is like super well calculated, right?
Yeah, he's working with the, like I said, he texted me. He's working with the UFC PI people. So he said he feels really good. He always does a great job. He's a big 45er, Shane, man.
Yeah, he towers over people, yeah.
Yeah, his fight is going to be a phenomenal fight. Lyman, Julio, and Shane. Those 3 guys. I mean, I'm good friends with a lot of guys from Tiger Showman. I've sparred with those guys, trained with them for a long time. But those 3, like, I have a special. I don't want to sound soft, but I have a special place in my heart for those guys. Those are my boys for real. We've been in the game. We've all fought on a lot of cards together. So I mean, it's more than just the fight itself. Like I know those guys on a personal level.
It's a completely different investment because I feel the same way when I see Jared fight.
Yeah, exactly. Jared was here actually, like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I remember he was here with some of the guys.
He's ready for a big fight, man. Jared, shout out to Jared, you bum. He looks good, man. He kicked my ass. I'm not gonna lie. I was out of shape. I had to tap out. I had to tap in, and I asked Bilal Muhammad, who's also in the UFC. He was here too, training with us. And halfway through the round, I was like, "Yo, tag team, Bilal, jump in, get Jared. I can't go anymore."
Yeah, he got a big fight, and I think he's fighting in Brazil, right?
Yeah, he's fighting November 16th, if I'm not mistaken. He's fighting Charles Oliveira. Great fight for Jared. I think he's gonna do really well, man, and he's gonna make a big splash in that division, people. Because a lot of people, unless you're following MMA, religiously, you really don't know who Jared Gordon is, right?
Right.
Let's be honest. Unless you follow the UFC, he's not like a household name yet.
Right, but this is a big fight.
Oliveira's been around for a while, and I think this is what's gonna take him to the next level. I think him beating Oliveira, I think he finishes him. So, but
that'd be big, man. Because Oliveira, I was reading that a lot of people didn't want to fight him in Brazil. And they kind of called Jared, and he was like, "Yeah, fuck it, I'm in."
Anyone, Jared will fight anybody, man. But let's get back to 244. I know, you and I, when we get together, we could go on and we could talk about fights for hours. Right. But I know our time is limited. I do not want to forget another one of my guys, right? I was showing you the picture not too long ago. Gregor Gillespie with Kevin Lee. Right, that's a big fight, man.
Before we get into like the X's and O's of that fight, man, it's crazy. And you were telling me a little bit, and I feel like you should definitely share this with people. Dude, how many people do you actually know that are like actual fighters? As far as like, because I feel as if the MMA community, it's such a small one. Like you guys all train together one way or another, and you guys are all connected.
Yeah. So here's the thing, man. I'm old, man, and I've been around from the beginning. I was fighting when MMA was still illegal in New York, which was not too long ago.
Definitely check out that podcast, guys. The one that I had Sergio on. There we kind of talk more about his story than actually breaking down stuff.
Yeah, so it's funny you asked me that question because, like, the other day I literally wrote down the number of guys I've trained with that are in the UFC, and I stopped counting when I hit 50.
That's crazy.
Think about that, 50, right? We're not talking about just, like, local guys because if we're going to go local, I know over 100 guys.
Right.
But 50 guys who are in the UFC currently or probably recently, left the UFC I've trained with. So, I mean, like, how many people? I thought that was pretty cool. I literally wrote the names and I was like, damn, man. That's like the equivalent to training with like 50 Major League Baseball players or 50 NBA players. And, these guys, even recently, that was in the guy that beat Ben Askren, Damian Maia. I've trained with Damian Maia. He used to train over here at Edge Wrestling in New Jersey. But before he was going to, I think he was going to Marcelo Garcia for BJJ. He was coming up where I trained jiu-jitsu, and I got to roll with him a couple of times. So that's pretty cool. It's like, especially when you're fighting yourself and you get to train with the guys that are at the top of the game, it's pretty cool. So, I mean, like, I stopped counting at 50.
That's wild. Yeah, you when you told me that, you're like, yo, imagine if you knew like 50 NBA players or like you played basketball with them,
literally, you practice with 50 NBA.
Right, yeah. That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
So, Gillespie.
The inside joke is the guys say I'm the mayor. They're like, Sergio, you're going to go be a mayor or something. Because, I know guys from gyms that guys been at Thailand. They're like, yo, I brought up your name, and there was a guy that knew you in fucking Thailand. And then another time the guy was like, yo, I was in the middle of like this little town in Brazil, and I brought you up, and the guy was like, oh, I know this guy who trained. Yeah, I know Sergio. I just try to, honestly, just people who know me, I try to be as genuine as I can. I try to network. I try to, talk to as many people as I can and try to, always keep a good relationship.
Yeah, you don't want to burn no bridges, man, because it always comes back.
And honestly, the nicest guys I've met in my life, even outside, are guys through mixed martial arts. Nicest guys I've trained with, and no hard feelings. Sometimes I hate it, but a lot of times I have my own boys fighting each other. I've had multiple times guys are like messaging me like, yo, I'm fighting this guy, do you know him? And I'm like, oh no, this recent Bellator card, I had 2 guys that I'm cool with that fought each other, And I was like, fuck, I hate when that happens.
Damn, that gotta be whack. I can't even imagine if like Jared was to fight like you, for example. Exactly. I'd be like torn, like, damn,
exactly.
That's the worst.
That's what happened. I'd bust Jared's ass though.
Yeah, we got that on record.
I'm kidding. Yeah, Jared's
Yo, so I think a really cool interesting fight is Kevin Lee and the Gift, Gillespie. Gillespie, for those of you guys that don't know, this dude's a beast. Like, this kid, a lot of people have said the one guy that could give Khabib a legit.
He beats Khabib.
Yeah?
Call me crazy again. I started this podcast, was the first thing I said. I'm 100% biased, right?
Right.
First of all, cool backstory I have, and I showed you the pic. Gregor was in my corner for my first professional win back in 2010, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I've trained with Gregor since probably 2008, 2009. Gregor had 0 pro MMA fights. He was just a wrestler, straight up just a wrestler. He helped me a lot. Gregor's an awesome dude. He's super talented. He hasn't even tapped into how good he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people hasn't even seen him. And his striking is very underrated because he's a wrestler. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very underrated. People just think he's a wrestler. No, he's like a submission dude.
Right.
He can choke you the fuck out.
Yeah.
We'll see, man. I don't want to, spoil the beat. But if I had a prediction, he subs Kevin Lee with an arm triangle. I'm going on record saying that.
So Kevin Lee, I think the interesting thing, this is a guy who had a lot of momentum behind him, a lot of steam, a lot of hype.
He's tough.
And then, he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights, has some issues with like weight cutting. And then he had that big staph infection, which was, I remember when he was getting interviewed, I was like, damn, that shit just looks off, And I was actually at the Rochester card, his last fight at 170, and he gassed out there too. And I think the one interesting thing that I think might be a factor in this is, he's changed camps. And he's with, for us, GSP's guys. So
here's my thing, right? Without getting into details, without throwing any names out there. I know MMA math doesn't always work, right? Like, if I fight you and I beat you, then you fight Jared, for example, and then Jared beats you, that doesn't mean I can beat Jared, right? Because every fight is different. So
what's the thing they say? Styles make fights.
Styles make fights. Right. All right. With that being said, aside from being biased, because Gregor's my boy and I've trained with him for a long time, I think Al Iaquinta, who beat Kevin Lee twice now, is, no offense to Al, Al's also a local guy. I respect the shit. I think he's an amazing fighter. Gregor is like a
notch
2.0
yeah.
Al Iaquinta, and that tells me that if, again, like I said when I started, this segment, it doesn't always add up that way, right? Kevin Lee can come out there and beat his ass. It can happen. 4-ounce gloves, anything can happen. However, Gregor is a 2.0 of Al, and I think that's going to show, and I think he dominates Kevin Lee. If I had to call a prediction, we're going to go back, and you guys are going to remind, I think arm triangle. I think Gregor Gillespie arm triangle first round.
Yeah, this is going to be on the YouTube channel, so it'll be cool if it does. You'll be like Nostradamus, they'll be coming back.
Arm triangle.
This dude, we touched on him too, and I think a guy who, would you say Vicente Luque is a guy who not many people know about though still?
Beast. I think he took didn't take a step back, but I think kind of guy started, people were on a hype train with him, and then when he, I think he didn't lose, but he beat, in a split decision, Barberena, I think it was.
No, he finished him. He finished him with like
late,
2
though.
seconds left. Yeah.
With 2 seconds left. So people thought he was a heavy favorite there. So people thought he was going to maul him.
Right.
And then because he went that, people kind of were like, maybe this. Barberena is super tough, man.
Yeah.
He's a tough dude to try to finish. However, Vicente Luque is very tough, man. I also got to train with him. He's another guy, back to the number of guys I've trained. He was coming up. I don't know what he was doing in New York, but I think he trained with Henry Hooft, and Henry Hooft is extended with Long Island MMA where I train. So Vicente came up a couple times, and man, I watched him move around with the heavier guys. I watched him train. He's a beast. I think he's gonna do really well. I think he beats
Wonder
Tom.
Boy.
Yeah, Thompson's another one, super tough. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah. And also, like, his style is so difficult to figure out, like that karate style.
Guys are so good nowadays, man. There's no easy fights anymore. Like, but that's gonna be a nice fight. This is probably the best card of the year.
So yeah, I would agree with you on that.
Top to bottom.
Top to bottom.
If
yeah.
you're gonna go
from first fight to last fight.
Top to bottom. I think all the fights are good here, right? Like, what other fight did we?
Well, we didn't even get to Kelvin Gastelum and Darren Till. Darren Till, it's Thursday right now, guys, and he just got to the States now.
Oh, he did?
Yeah, he got cleared.
They were saying maybe he wasn't.
Yeah, with his visa and whatnot. But Darren Till now fighting at 185. He was another dude who had
Cut a lot of weight.
Yeah, he had to cut a lot. And also, Kelvin too. Kelvin was a guy that used to fight at 170, and
He used to struggle to make 70.
Yeah, I remember he either fought Woodley or he was supposed to fight Woodley, and
belt, right?
and like he weighed in at like 183. And that was for 170.
Look, Gastelum, I'll tell you right now, two guys, Gastelum and Whitaker, two guys that every single time I go against them, they shut me up.
Right.
And how's Till's coming off of 2 fights, right? 2 losses.
Yeah.
Till, and he recently I hate to say it, but lost at home to Masvidal.
Yeah, that's really what jump-started the resurrection, as Masvidal calls it.
That's going to be a really tough fight, man. I think that's going to be a fight where Gastelum, I always go against him. So for one time, I'm going to go. He's been fighting at the weight more. Darren Till's the first time at 85. I don't know how he's coming off of 2 losses. I'm going to go with Gastelum on that one, man.
Yeah, I always, one of my better calls, and, as I have the DraftKings app opened up in front of me, I was all in on Poirier when he fought Max. And one of the reasons why was because, I don't know, and I could be wrong. This is a great question to ask you as someone who has the insight. Is there an advantage to, say I fight at 170 and you fight at 155 and then you come up to my division? Is it an advantage for me because I hit like a 170 and you aren't accustomed to getting hit by one?
It depends on how much you were cutting to make 55. Right? I'm gonna give you a perfect example. I'm gonna use myself, right? Because I like to speak about. I don't want to speak about an experience that I don't have because everyone adapts.
Right.
So
Sure.
Right. I fought as low as 125.
Stop.
Right? Yeah. It's fucking crazy.
You've told me some of your weight cuts.
I had some bad weight cuts. I've missed weight before, but 125 for me. So when I moved up to 135, most of my fights were, I think, at 135. So a lot of guys that were at 35 thought like, oh, he's a 25er. Well, I was killing myself to fight at 25. So when I fought at 35, that was my natural weight. So I wasn't so I was a really big 25er. So when I fought at 35,
you were still a big 35er.
I was still a big 35er.
Gotcha.
So in that case, it's different as opposed to if I was a small 25er to begin with, me moving up to 35 now I'm a 25er, if that makes any sense.
Right.
So I was actually big. I remember, guys my entire career used to tell me like, yo, you fight at 45 or 50, even 55, So it depends. Everybody's different, right? So I'm going to give you an example. We can use Conor McGregor, for example, right? Guys are like, people who don't know the sport, they're like, oh, he fought, he used to be a 45er and he fought Diaz at 7. Yeah, he killed himself to fight at 45.
Yeah.
He was the huge 45.
Even Max is a big ass 45 too.
Oh, yeah, he does. Max had Max a big 45 and Poirier too.
Yeah.
Poirier used to fight at 45.
Yeah.
You can't do that shit no more. You get older, So it depends.
It's harder to cut weight as you get older?
Hell yeah.
Why is that though?
I think your body just doesn't. I think the more you do it, and I think this is a scientific fact, don't quote me, but I think the more you do it, the harder it is the next time because your body wants to hold on to that weight. They're like, I'm not going to go through that. So every time I made weight at a lower weight class, the next time was harder.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to ask someone that.
There's very few guys that there's an exception to that rule. Very few guys. Who's an example? Whitaker.
Mm-hmm.
Whitaker used to fight at 70, then moved to 85. Who else? A couple of guys. Jared. Perfect example. Jared had a couple of fights at 45. He knocked the guy out, a really good WC veteran, Morrison, at 45, and then was like, fuck that. I'm losing too much. Sometimes like risk versus reward. Is it worth losing so much where like fight week or 2 weeks before, a month before, all you're thinking about is weight, and you're not able to focus on game plan and fighting because you're worried about the weight.